and we are getting ready to start the run. So Cutieroo and Smashy, please take the floor and show us some Sheepo.
All right, thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Rue. Well, I'm Cutieroo, but I go by Rue too. And then my lovely friend Smashy. We're going to be racing this game called Sheepo. It just came out towards the end of August. It's fairly new, and we have a very welcoming community, and it's a lot of fun. But basically, we're going to do the category called All Bosses, so we have to defeat all the bosses in the game, and we'll take it from here. So on the countdown, Smashy?
Okay.
By the way, this is Queen Snopea on commentary. I'm going to be trying to explain everything that's going on since they're going to have to focus on the race.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing this.
Thank you.
So did you want to count it down?
Yeah, I can count it down.
All right.
Ready in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, hopefully this is a good race. It's a good game, so I think it'd be hard to make it a bad one. In this game, you play as Sheepo, and your job is basically to save the animals. I know that's a controversial topic on this channel, but trust me, it makes for a good run. I'd go into the story a bit more, but I think that the game's sort of goofy dialogue has enough character that I wouldn't be able to do it justice myself, so I definitely recommend picking it up if you're curious. So already, we're out of the first part of this game, which has been optimized to heck and back, really. It's getting out of that ship is down to a science. It takes about 30 seconds if you're doing things the way you want to usually. And we've already seen 2 of what I would say are the major things that make us go fast in this run. So there's the basic movement, of course, of just running around, jumping, double jumping, jumping off walls. But you might notice them doing this little double jump before their double jump, and we call those half hops, named by Half Coordinated, who was part of the group of people discovering them. And they kind of break the game for us. So you'll notice the second thing that I mentioned there was these launchers. They give you a pretty incredible amount of speed. You're going to see them right here use this launcher after they get this feather to kind of travel through this room right there, just zooming on through.
Got it.
And as long as you keep moving without hitting any obstacles, you're pretty much going to keep that momentum. And that's part of what makes this game so fun to speedrun, I think. After the launchers, in terms of special movement, we see them walking by these birds. They're kind of mysterious right now, but you'll see what they're for in a bit. Oh, it looks like we're having some sort of technical difficulties, and we are going to have to restart the race. So bear with us for just a moment.
Oh.
We have a $25 donation from Braylon. No comment, but thank you so much. And friends, this does give us some extra time to raise the rest of the money for the any percent ratio of Sheepo. So if you're enjoying what you're seeing so far, I personally have learned that this game does in fact have sheep. Go ahead and get those donations in. This event is brought to you by Fleet Fatals, GDQ. Fleet Fatals and other hotfix events and shows are brought to you by viewers like you. Your subscriptions and bits help keep this channel running for these fun events, including shows like Fleet Fatales, Random Number Generation, Time Capsule, Mercy Kill, Runners Wanted, Tina's RPG Show, I Guess, and more. And obviously, we're trying to get that Sheepo incentive met just as soon as possible, but let me tell you about a couple of other incentives we've got coming up as well. There's a squid percent run for Squidlet. If this incentive is met, Kinda Nerdy Housewife will perform a squid percent run, which includes befriending all of the squids and doing a dance with them. So, squids, cool. Sheep, cool. Go ahead and get those donations in, friends. It's going to be a very enjoy seeing the animals kind of event. Maybe not necessarily saving them, but we'll get some animals in there. And then another one we have coming up is the bongo camera for Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. Usually this game is played with the DK bongos, but there will be a camera to showcase the unique controller if that incentive is met. We have $25 from Willow the Whisper. Much love to the Sheepo speedrunning community and Kyle Thompson. Thank you so much. Lemon Carrots donates $5 and says, I don't know Sheepo, but this run looks amazing so far. Good luck to the runners. Wiffle Waffle donates $50 and says, beep beep, I'm a sheep. And we just crossed that $40,000 threshold. Thank you so much, everybody, for getting your amazing donations in and helping us support this amazing cause. We are only 6,000 away from our fourth bonus game, Celeste Farewell, which is a cumulative donation bonus. So any donations you make will go towards that Celeste Farewell run. And that's on top of the Celeste run right before it. And that's going to do it for me, friends. My name is Sariana. I'm going to hand it off to another amazing host, Nichole Goodnight, and she's going to show you the ropes for the rest of the Sheepo run. Thank you so much and have a great evening.
Hello, everyone. I am Nichole Goodnight. Thank you so much, Sariana. And I will be your host for the upcoming rest of the night. While we're waiting for everything to get set back up, let's go ahead and read some donations. We have a $5 donation from the Ferg. There's no comment, but thank you so much. Every donation means the world. It's so appreciated. I have a $25 donation from Maeve. They say, hope everyone is having a nice week. Shout out to everyone making this event possible. Thank you so much. And as a reminder, we do still have an open incentive for the Any Percent race right after Sheepo. If met, Cutieroo and Smashy SR will do an Any Percent race of Sheepo following the All Bosses race. We are $627 into that $2,500 incentive. so we've still got a little bit of time to get that back in. Now that being said, we are all ready for the race, so we're going to go on over to Cutieroo and Smashy for Sheepo any percent.
All right. Do we want to start completely over with the introduction and stuff?
Nah, let's just go into it.
Yeah, I think people are hopefully around. Well,
Yeah. We got this,
you want to count it in?
Yeah, I'll do the countdown, everybody.
All right.
So we're going to do this. Take 2. Second time's the charm. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, and they're off. So I've explained a little bit of this already, but maybe you can keep an eagle eye out this time. If you watch them jumping around the ship here, you're going to see those half hops I mentioned before being brought up. Every time they jump off of the ground, it gives you just a little bit of extra height that you need to get to places that you wouldn't normally be able to get to with just a double jump and a half hop. You can do them off of the walls as well, which lets you just zoom on out of the top of the ship, which makes for it's just such a satisfying game to run. The movement felt so good playing it casually, but once you add in those couple of tricks that make it go a bit faster, it really becomes another game. All right, so we're starting off pretty even. There's a lot of time in this category. It's usually, I'd say, around 40 minutes is what we're going to expect, hopefully. And you can see how when they're using these launchers, I mentioned this before, but I'm trying to kind of go over things again since we started over. As long as you don't hit any walls or stop holding the direction that you're launching in, then you just get to keep going with the same speed that you got out of the launcher. It never decays. Now, I can also talk a bit here about how you see them picking up these feathers. You know how some games have currency or collectibles or things like that. In this game, those are feathers. So there's 75 feathers total in the game, spread throughout. In this category, we want to collect 45 because that's going to allow us to buy the things that we need to get to the last boss. I can go over that now. This is the all bosses category. We have, I believe, 4 main categories really in this game. We got any percent, we have 6 real eggs, we have all bosses, and we have 105%. That's right, once you get 105%, there's a little bit extra, so so you gotta remember that. And in this category, the goal is to fight all the bosses. As you may have guessed, pretty much every other category skips any boss that they can because the bosses drop these pickups that are what allow you to beat the game and get your new abilities. And some of them, you don't even have to fight the boss to get them. So we're running into our first boss here sorry, getting my left and right mixed up. You know, it's here, it's on the screen. This is Mama Bird. She's a long bird, and she's also a long bird. There's the species, the first one that we're encountering here, they're called longbirds, and they are going to allow us to do some new movement. I think that's something about this game that makes it really exciting and fun. Also, by the way, it's over already, so that was the first boss fight.
Oh, no.
And now you're gonna see her use these longbirds to get around. So the way this game works is instead of maybe Sheepo picking up new Sheepo movement or Sheepo abilities, he gains the ability to transform into each of the animals that he saves. So when you see them around like this, you can pick them up and they each have their own unique set of abilities that they can use to move around. For longbirds, this means you can fly, 'cause you're a bird. And we're gonna head back down here now into the wastelands, which is gonna give us our second ability. And we also have 2 boss fights here, which is different from any other area really, because there's an extra boss here that happens to not be organic matter like the other bosses. So no eggs here. But we will have to fight it because we are fighting all the bosses. Also, that was impressive. Getting through there without taking any damage is quite the feat. We really make a lot of use of these launchers and things in this area. And I'd say the birds are probably the sort of main theme of the Wastelands. As you've just gotten that ability, they facilitate a lot of the movement around here. We've seen a couple of these doors now as well, you may have noticed. You basically have to go around and pick up all of these little blue orbs, and they act as keys that open up the doors. There are some places where you can kind of get the orbs into the door a bit early with some special movement to try and get in there. But unfortunately you can't carry them between rooms or anything, so there isn't any collecting 1 or 2 orbs here to use later or anything like that. As I mentioned before, we have to kind of go out of our way a bit in this route compared to, say, well, any percent. Hopefully we'll get to see any percent. Any percent, I believe there's an incentive that we're still waiting to meet for that, and it is really something. It's, how long have we been going? I think we'd be almost done with the game at this point if we were running any percent. But you see them going out of their way to get these feathers because the end boss of the game is locked behind something that you need to purchase with the feathers. And so here's the second boss, and you're both in there at the same time. This is definitely a race, everybody. So this boss fight kind of introduces a mechanic that gets brought back a couple other times during the run. You see these little pronged robot walkie-talkies. I'm not exactly sure what they are. I'm not sure if anybody is. But your goal here is to jump over them. I've lost one of the streams here, but hopefully we're good. We'll come back in a second. Jump over them, and it'll run into the bird in the direction that you jumped over them. These ones just sort of lock on, so you don't have to worry about timing it, but later you're going to have to jump with the right timing so that you manage to hit the boss with their own projectiles. That's kind of the theme, I guess, of this game when it comes to doing all the bosses. There aren't really any fights that you have to do. Like, Sheepo doesn't have any combat abilities. It's just about sort of surviving the fight, living it out, and either redirecting an attack at the boss that would have hurt you, or waiting for the boss to kind of do themselves in.
Yeah, it's kind of passive in that sense.
Yeah. It makes for an interesting game, I think. Like, the rest of the game is all movement based. There's no like monsters to worry about anything. There's spikes, which I should really get to as well. You can take damage, obviously. You've noticed that this little green bug floating next to Sheepo indicates his health. Green meaning 3, yellow meaning 2, and red meaning 1. You can also change that to numbers if colors are hard for you to read. There's a lot of options in this game. It's really nice. But damage doesn't really mean that much in a Sheepo run, right? It's as much as scary as it is walking over all those spikes, you have a pretty long sort of invincibility timer after taking damage, and it doesn't knock you back, it doesn't interrupt your momentum, so that makes us able to go really, really fast through some areas that you would probably not go super fast through if you're playing casually, because you'd be trying not to take that damage. So we're on the third boss here, the second one that we're going to be getting an egg from. You might have actually noticed, if you're a little eagle-eyed earlier, these little similar-looking worms kind of swimming around in the ground. You might be able to guess by that those are what we're going to be able to transform into next. And this boss, like most of the other boss fights, Mama Bird is kind of an exception. Most of them have basically a defined amount of time that they take. You just kind of have to wait out the boss going through its different phases. As you'll see here, there was one where it was just attacking you, and then one where it destroys the ground beneath your feet. And now over on the right for me, the left for you. No, other way around. In the last phase, all of the ground beneath you gets wiped out, and once again we're gonna see you have to sit here and wait and redirect the boss into the thing that could have hurt you if you jumped a little bit too high, and we're out of there. None of them are particularly long, but they are a nice little breather, I think, from the movement action that is the rest of the game. Oh no. All right, both out of the boss. Okay. The game really is, the thing that makes it a speedrun is really solidifying your movement, optimizing the routes through each room, knowing when to half hop, when to just jump normally, when to stay on the ground. That's an important one, actually, because a lot of games you might see people jumping because jumping gives you a speed boost. In this game, though, staying on the ground makes you go faster, because Sheepo kind of has a bit of a wind-up to his sprint speed, and that timer doesn't tick if you're in the air. So you want to stay on the ground until you're at sprint speed, and then I guess you can jump as much as you want, but you won't gain any speed while you're jumping. Okay. So we're gonna see the sort of first dipping into a room and not really doing much in it. They're gonna grab this feather and leave. If you looked really closely, you may have noticed this funny statue sort of to the right of where Sheepo was. We're gonna be using those later to come back there. I think we're about to fly. No, not in this room, but in the next room after Mama Bird, you'll see another one of these statues. Those are sort of the fast travel of this game. They allow you to teleport, not from anywhere, but between statues. Also, by the way, if you were worried about Mama Bird, she's fine. She's just sleeping. So we're coming back, getting this feather, just trying to do things as fast as we can. And those Froggos are gonna be our next ability that we pick up. Yeah, taking a moment to think in my brain. Yes, so I might be able to actually explain something here, I believe. Yeah, so with these birds, another thing that can make you really go a lot faster through rooms than you would normally is the sprint speed that I mentioned earlier. We've discovered that as long as you have sprint speed when you are transforming into a bird and you continue holding that direction, then you get to go faster than you normally would. And that is a real boon for us as speedrunners, because faster than you normally would is basically what the what the hobby is all about, right? So here, gonna sort of break sequence a tiny bit. Instead of going down to where the Froggos are, we're gonna climb up here, and once again, the teleporters that I mentioned are coming into play. We're gonna climb up and grab a room with a teleporter. So the teleporters, you don't have to interact with them, you don't have to go past them, there isn't anything special you have to do to activate them. You simply need to have entered the room that they are in. So we're gonna climb up here, use these sort of fans, ignore some of them because half hops just kind of allow you to ignore a lot of the game. And I remember this area being really tough casually, trying to time all of the fan things, but it makes it really easy to recover from messing up any of those, since you can just jump off of a wall with half hops. In case it wasn't clear, you would not normally be able to climb walls like this in this game. You would just have a wall jump and a double jump, and that's all you got. But half hops allow you to just kind of go up any wall you want. If we get to see the any percent run, then you'll see that the entire end of that run is basically half hops up walls. All right, so we've seen Cutieroo has dipped into the room with the Froggo statue, and now we'll be able to teleport into it. I guess that's the one thing, you don't get to transform into a Froggo, do you?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah. Well, but you do get to borrow their teleporters, which is very nice. So you'll be able to go and actually skip a lot of that room. That's the thing that really makes that fast, is the Froggo statue is in the middle of the room, and there's a lot of climbing that you would have to do to get to it. But instead, by just dipping in there and grabbing a few feathers along the way, we skip the climb and get to just go on ahead. All right, so Cutieroo is entering the underbelly, and you're going to see this area's theme is these spine worms that we picked up from fighting the dead worm before. These guys are kind of hard to control. They can be pretty tricky. There's some areas where you're going to see, hopefully it looks effortless and we don't have any problems, but I think we all know that there are some rooms that, that can cause problems. So basically they allow you to swim, I guess, burrow through the ground, and they have a timer like all of the other transformations do, except with spine worms, instead of the timer making you transform back into Sheepo, it'll make you start taking damage. So you have to be careful not to spend too long as one spine worm. Though there are some areas, I don't think there are any areas in this category, though in 105% there are definitely a few spots where you want to sort of damage boost as the spine worm to take the faster route through a room. Let's see. So yeah, we're just gathering more feathers. It looks like, so that was feather number 29. So we're almost all the way done with our feathers, really, when you think about it. Well, maybe not all the way done, because we do need 45, not 35. But the first thing that you have to buy costs 35 feathers, and they'll be doing that a little bit later in another area. Right, and this is one of the first, it's like a medium scary space on a Cutieroo's screen here. These sort of pinwheels with the saw blades, I guess, on them can be pretty scary. There's a room that has a larger one and 2 of them, and that is a place that definitely I have struggled with in my runs, coming up right here. I'd say something that makes this game really attractive as a speedrun, to me at least, as someone who hasn't really speedrun anything else, is it's not too punishing. Excuse me for the hiccups. It's a really calm game. All you have to do is be good at movement and manage your health well enough not to die, really. And most of the time, that's not a really difficult thing to do, or there is a save point close enough by that it doesn't, end the run completely. That's another thing worth mentioning. Oh, wait, taking a moment to mention here that's a fun thing that Cutieroo found out the other day, maybe a week or 2 ago, is that spineworms don't care about walls. As long as there's another spineworm and you can get close enough to it, then you can transform into it from another spineworm through the wall. Now, this is the room that I was talking about that is kind of the bane of, I think, every longer category runner's existence, is first trying to get that's a tough one right there, and then trying to not bonk on that is, I still do that. I've tried to get through this game many times in my life now, in these last 2 months of my life, and it still happens. We'll see if Smashy can manage. Hopefully, this is a strat that I enjoy using as well, is coming out as Sheepo there and coming around the other side. Now that saved a little bit of time, which is nice, because we are in a race. Oh, and I get to talk about Armchair Bird, which are office chair? Gamer Bird, which I think is everyone's favorite character. Unfortunately, we don't really get to listen to what he has to say, since we're using speedrun mode, because this is a speedrun. But I think it's safe to say that he's the best, right? He's the best.
Yeah, he's awesome.
That's a thing I should probably mention as well. Some games, you speedrun them and they're fun, and sometimes you speedrun a game and you get to talk with the developer and find new ways to make both the casual game and the speed run of the game a little bit easier to get through. So before the speedrun mode existed, everyone needed to mash through text, which, I mean, I don't know, maybe some people like mashing through text, but the developer is super communicative, super responsive, and added in a mode that just skips the text automatically. So no need to burn your hands out going, oh no, I didn't mash perfectly through that dialogue. Time to reset. Nope, none of that. He's also consulted with Half Coordinated and added a bunch of accessibility features, some of which actually end up affecting the speedrun in small ways. Turning off or on, rather, photosensitive mode actually allows us to see where Sheepo is in a couple cutscenes where we normally wouldn't be able to see because the screen would be white and Sheepo is white. Also, catching up with commentary, this is Froggo King. He's a nice big potato. And this is another one of those boss fights that I talked about before, that's more or less you wait out the phases, you try not to take damage, and we'll see what happens to Froggo King when the fight ends. You might notice that out of his mouth, those are Froggos, spitting out tiny Froggos, and so we're just gonna wait until he doesn't have any more Froggos to spit out, more or less. I think this fight is actually, it's interesting to me because everybody has a kind of different way of going about it. You can do this thing where you just stand underneath them and let them jump in place, or you can run from one side of the room to the other, or you can use the birds. But the one thing that you do generally want to do is let him stomp you on that last hop, like we're seeing here. And then, oh, there go the Froggos. And a statue. Well, that's nice. We're going to be using the statue soon to teleport up to that one that I talked about before. And standing under him there just allows you to jump right up to that egg once this cutscene finishes. I think this might be the longest fight in the game if you count to the point where the egg is. I timed it, and it's about 2 minutes exactly from entering the room to collecting the egg. But it's a nice sort of, it's in the middle of the run. It's kind of a breather, and the next boss is definitely not as easy, so. This is a place actually where a couple of the routes that we do in this game differ. For marathons, it is definitely preferable to do this, which is a route that has you teleport there and then go up to this upper area and do the next boss, because doing the next boss after the area after Froggo would be out of sequence in such a way that it makes it not impossible, but very difficult to do. Like, I talked about the game being not very punishing and not having a lot of, oh, this is a time to reset or anything like that, minutes and tens of minutes into the run, but that would be a place where you could potentially lose, I haven't timed it, but I would guess around 40 seconds or so every time you die, and it's pretty easy to die. So this is definitely the better way to go when you're trying to have a race that doesn't rely on hand RNG, I guess we'll call it. So this upper area, we're in the, I guess this is, yeah, we're officially in the upper Dead Mall now, I believe, which is above the shop. I don't think I called it a shop earlier, but the shops that they dipped into before in the room with the fountains. They're going to pick up a few more feathers and pretty soon going to be done collecting all of those. That's 35, which gives them enough to go to the shop when they get to the next teleporter. Which the game is really new. Like Cutieroo mentioned at the beginning of this run that it came out end of August, I believe. And there are still things being discovered even now. It's I definitely recommend, if you're interested in games like this, getting into the speed run, because it's just such a fun opportunity getting to sort of find things that are actually new or route them out. Oh, that's a scary one, that feather right there. It turns out it is faster to go under there and grab that feather, even though you don't have the slime ability yet. And thankfully in this route, you get to heal up right there afterwards anyway, so it's not the worst. As long as you don't take too much damage, you are good.
I actually do a different feather because I don't like this feather.
All right. Well, that's kind of, that makes it more interesting, right? That's another thing, is I feel like the game, especially this category, has a lot of room for sort of tailoring it to fit your needs. You know, choose how you want to run it. Add a feather in here and there. There's a lot that are basically around the same time, but not exactly. So it's, you know, add one, take one out.
Yep.
We're seeing a lot of these slimes around here too, you may notice. This area expects you to backtrack a bit for some feathers. Also, this area always scares me. These stompy, spiky things are definitely dangerous, and I have died there multiple times in single runs. This is an interesting feather here that Smashy is getting right now, actually. It kind of looks like you're going out of your way since you just go and get it there, but it is faster than most. For that route that I was talking about that sort of sequence breaks things and does a bit scarier of a trick, we do grab that feather coming through from the door instead of coming around like that. So that is the main thing that makes that other route save time, is it allows us to save, I think Cutieroo timed it to be close to 10 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's I don't know. I think it makes the game really interesting how many sort of options you have to go about things, and it's hard to look at two streams at once, isn't it? We're already in the boss room over there on Cutieroo, and we're entering it as Smashy. This fight is not the longest, but it definitely feels long because it's probably one of the scariest. Next to the final boss fight, you have to dodge these projectiles that she shoots at you. This is the Slime Queen, by the way. Sort of a, I don't know, theme of certain.
She has like a little
royalty.
hitbox, by the way. It's kind of
Yeah, that's another thing. That I don't know. There's just so many things about this game that are interesting. Like, oh, if you want, you can just stand on the boss. Like, the only things that are going to hurt you are the projectiles. So it may be a strat that we find turns out to be the safest thing to do. Is just kind of hang out. Hey, Slime Queen. And this is another room. I think this is one of the more fun bosses. I don't know how you guys feel about the different.
I agree. And her sound effects are the best.
Yeah,
she's the funniest. Oh shoot!
Yeah, the Slime Queen sound effects
for...
paired with the boss fight music, which I think everyone can agree is an absolute bop. It is great. All right, so they're going to be walking basically over to this gallery area for a second. So if we have any donations, this might be a good time to get a few in.
Yep, we absolutely do. I have a $10 donation from Ridic that says, I'm not sure if Sheepo are sheeps, but I feel bad for not donating. I hope for a woolly good run. Thank you so much. I've been laughing about that ever since I saw it.
I love that one. That one's amazing.
Though. I have a $10 donation from Glint that says, Sheepo is the perfect time for my first ever GDQ donation. One of the most wholesome and welcoming communities I've ever been a part of. Good luck to Rue and Smashy on the race. Let's try and get that any % incentive met. And speaking of the any % incentive, we have $762 towards it, meaning we are only 1,738 away. Twitch chat, do your thing.
All right. Wow. I feel like this would be like round of applause time, but I don't want to hurt anyone's ears with my microphone. So instead, I'll just go back to talking about what's happening. We are in the gallery, and the gallery bird has provided us with these lovely rooms to create these connect the dots work of arts. This is another one of those spots where it's you kind of gain a feel for it, but still sometimes it messes you up later in the runs. Thankfully, it looks like everything's going smooth for Cutieroo so far. Oh, this is a fun skip as well that we've started doing recently here. This statue, turns out you can access it from below. It's intended that you go back to the beginning of the gallery and use the statue that you walked past there, but why do that when you can do this? Because it's faster, right? So, teleporting back to the underbelly, remembering the names of the areas, you just go right out of the Froggo King room and climb up, and that's going to take us to Deep Woods, which is the next area where we're going to gain, I think, all of the transformations are really great, but I think that the one that you get in Deep Woods might be my favorite just for the way it works and the name and the sound effects. And this is a close race. We've definitely got been staying really consistent throughout the run. There's a bit of a gap, but it hasn't been widening, I wouldn't say. All right,
Yeah,
this
I would
area, right? This area is. There's scary areas in the run. Of course there is. But it's kind of fun because areas like this, you know that you're going to get a heal at some point, so you can kind of just go through the scary things. And that's another, I'll talk about that when Smashy gets to this point, because that's a fun thing. This is another example of just maintaining your momentum forever with those booster orbs. And now when Smashy gets up here, I'll talk about this. So we're going through this room with the bird. That was impressive. I generally just end up taking damage through both of these things. But it turns out the radius that is effective for transformation is a bit larger when you're doing these bird to worm transformations. So we can actually skip the entire left side of that room just by flying up against the ceiling and transforming into that worm that's supposed to be a sort of shortcut to get back. This area is just sort of a maze, picking up these orbs, and this next area, this is a fun one as far as speedruns go as well. It used to be kind of a slog, but now a log slog. It turns out you can just skip it, really. If you stand at just the right spot on these logs, you have line of sight, I think from Sheepo's feet, I believe the developer told us, to the launcher orbs, which lets you sort of teleport into them from the other side of the log, so we don't have to use the treadmills the whole way through. I'd say this is another one of the scarier parts of the run. You really want to have 2 health through this whole area going up, and then you can... I very rarely see anybody get through that 2 pinwheel combo without taking damage at least once, so you have to kind of prepare for that. But we get to skip a couple rooms on the side that you would go through in 105%. I think that's something that makes this game really interesting as far as the different categories go, is for the most part there's a lot of overlap, but there are a few places where you just don't even go into a room that you would. You don't go into these rooms in 105% because there aren't any feathers. You just go around instead. And this next area is the part that would be the potential run killer in the other route that I was talking about. It involves going, sorry, sound surprised me. Going up here, we have it looks like Cutieroo is going to try and demonstrate. That would be pretty sweet if... Oh, you were very close. That was close. Incredibly close, but that's what I was talking about. So the slimes, sorry, I think I've talked over Smashy there, if you wanted to say. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, so you can use the slime on the right side or the slime on the left. If you can, when I talked about the birds, sort of fast bird speed boost that you can get if you have sprint speed going to the birds, we found a way to sometimes have that if you use the first slime there, but it's kind of inconsistent at the moment. I've been having, it's something, this game is new. People are still theorizing how to do the things, and it's kind of exciting in that. Excuse me. Oh. Yeah, there's another place here that you would be expected to backtrack to with the slingos to get that feather, but instead we can just use half hops to go up the wall. And I was saying something about the damage boosting there. Yeah, you wouldn't have slimes here if you hadn't gone to the Slime Queen and fought her already, obviously. So that area, it becomes mandatory that you get through it without touching the slimes at all. Taking a little safety save here, I respect that. I would definitely do the same, because the last save it's not too far away, but it's far enough away to be a headache, and getting through this area without taking damage is really rough. It can be tough. All right, so we're gonna need like focus time for a second, because this boss fight coming up is a big deal. Something looks off. So Sheepo. So Sheepo is supposed to be in this room when you skip this cutscene. But if you just stay that worm, then instead Sheepo is not really in the room, and when Sheepo comes back, it doesn't really have a ability to take damage, so we kind of just get to take a break. If there are any more donations or anything, this would be a great time for it.
Yeah, absolutely. There sure are. We have a $8.88 donation from 8 that says, had to donate during the Sheepo race. Go, Cutieroo, go. You prepared a lot for this and you are killing it. Chat, be sure to donate so we can see Frozen Flygon run Celeste Farewell on Friday night. And that, as a reminder, is a 4th bonus game, and it will be unlocked at a total donation of $46,000. And every single donation put towards any incentive For example, the any percent race incentive or bid war also gets put towards Celeste Farewell, so help us see even more speedrunning content Friday night.
All right, so it looks like we're at the end of this boss fight, more or less, and I think I've actually lost access to one of the streams, but that's all right. We'll roll with it. We're basically synced up at this point, which is certainly exciting for for a race like this. So this gets you the last egg that's going to get you any sort of abilities, which is these slingos, which are these round little tonguey creatures that I hope y'all can hear the sound effects because they really are truly splendid.
Slurp? They're kind of like, or like lick. They like.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's an interesting one. Yeah.
And so that allows us to come back here. We have the slimes, we have the slingos, we get to complete our works of art. And once we've completed these works of art, we get to go up to the top of the gallery. And what, I wonder, could be at the top of the gallery? We only need one more egg to go home. The Sheepo's job is to gather the 6 eggs of the different species of this planet. So this must be the one. So we're gonna go ahead and run back to the ship. And thankfully we can do that pretty quickly just by teleporting. Give me 1 second. All right. And now that we're back at the ship, something kind of looks like it's up with the egg. If you were able to read that dialogue, welcome to Earth. I don't know how you did that. I don't think humans can. But it basically, we found out that egg was not actually an egg. It was an art sculpture by the artist Bird made of chewed up gum. But it turns out Sheepo's beautiful connect the dots drawings brought in so much money that the artist Bird decided to share maybe like 0.5% of that money with Sheepo and give him the 200 feathers needed to buy the elevator key and get up to the end of the game. So we're heading up to the ceiling, which I think is probably one of my favorite parts of the game because it uses all of the different abilities that you've gotten up to this point. And this sort of gauntlet of Sheepo movement. You get to use the slingos. This is really most of where you're going to get to see slingos used in this category, since we don't do backtracking for any other feathers or anything. We're almost done with the run. It's an exciting time. I think this whole area has a lot of interesting movement, and a lot of the rooms still need. Sorry for the hiccups. Still need a bit of optimization, and it's kind of exciting finding little things that turn out to be a bit faster. I think slingos are probably yes.
Boo.
Oh. The slingos are probably the thing that we understand the least. More or less, the strat, I believe, is just to mash and hold the direction that you're trying to go in so that the tongue can target the next grappling point. But yeah, so this goes into the last boss of the game, the Beast. And we're gonna do this sort of chase sequence here, a la Ori, kinda. I think if, obviously these games are unique from each other, but I believe there's no coincidence that most of the Sheepo community are people who are also running Ori. It's, I think they share DNA. And this chase sequence is a really fun end to the game. You get to run away from the boss and then do one last boss fight and get to go home after that. And I missed a bit of Smashy's feed, but I'm seeing it now and it looks like they're still pretty neck and neck. This is probably one of the scariest boss fights in the game, as, I mean, you can look at it and see for yourself. Doing this with 3 health is pretty rough. Thankfully, you get a little bit extra if you're doing the 105% category, but basically you have to get through this first phase, which is really the hardest phase of them all. And once you have, you're probably home free, as there is a health drop and and then you've got the other two phases, which are a bit easier. Yeah, the feet are really the thing that I think can mess you up. They're smart, right? It's normally it wouldn't be too hard just to avoid all of the bullets, but these little stompy leggies kind of force you into a position where you have to move somewhere where you might not have wanted to move. And once again, we're going to see that redirection technique come back like we saw in Slime Queen and Birdbot. And that's the last boss. Turns out she's actually a nice beast. And it's like, I've got like thousands of eggs. Sure, you can have an egg. Go take it home. And we're almost done with the run here. I believe we've probably about 10 seconds left on Cutieroo's side. I can't say exactly how much for Smashy as I don't have the live feed anymore.
Time.
But that's
time. For me.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Wow,
Awesome. That was
so
incredible.
close. Good job, girl.
GG, both of you.
GG's.
Yeah, I highly recommend this game to everybody. How are we doing on donations?
We are still at 762 out of 2,500.
All right. Well, you guys did great. That was a really fun race to watch. The technical difficulties, they happen.
Yeah.
All right.
We could say thank you to GDQ and the Fleet Patels and everyone. Thank you, Queen, for commentating. You did a wonderful job. And Smashy, that was so close. Good job. And then basically, if you have anything to say, Queen or Smashy, go ahead. But I just wanted to thank everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And
Definitely.
it really means the bottom to my heart.
Yeah, I'd say thank you to the whole Sheepo community, which at the moment is a pretty small community, and I would love to see it grow. And thank you to the developer of this game. This is a one-man job, this game development, with his brother doing the music, and he's been so communicative and so helpful in trying to change little things. We're working on getting an in-game timer set up, so that'll make timing things for runs a little bit easier and potentially good for runs on different platforms possibly in the future. And yeah, that's about all I have to say. I'm happy to be here. I'm glad it happened. All right. Yeah, definitely check out the speedruns, the SRC page. That's where you're gonna find us. All right, I think that's us done.
Thank you all so much. That was an amazing run. I've never seen that game before, but it was really, really fun to watch. And while we are waiting for the next game to get set up, let's go ahead and read some donations. I have $25 from Flying Snails, who says, never seen this game before, but wanted to chip in with Malala Fund. Same, and it was really, really, really awesome to see. Thank you so much for that donation. And we are only about $5,348 away from hitting $46,000. And once we hit $46,000 of total donations, Celeste Farewell is going to be unlocked. Every single donation put towards any incentive or bid war gets put towards this. So help us see even more speedrunning content Friday nights. Farewell is such a fun run, and it's beautiful. It has amazing music. I'm really, really excited for this. And as a reminder, all donations are benefiting Malala Fund. Malala Fund is working for a world where all girls can learn and lead. Malala Fund advocates for resources and policy changes needed to give all girls a secondary education, invests in local education leaders, and amplifies the voices of girls fighting for a change. So thank you so much for all of your donations. Speaking of, we have a $50 anonymous donation. They don't say anything, but again, every single donation means so much. Thank you. And with that, we actually have a word from Malala Fund.
Meu nome é Silvia Siqueira Campos, tenho 36 anos. Eu me envolvi no Mirim aos 13 anos de idade. Mirim é uma ONG para defender os direitos de crianças, adolescentes e jovens, com espaço para a juventude e para a criança falar. A gente utiliza, por exemplo, a arte para poder expressar o que a gente sente, então é necessário criar um ambiente seguro para poder falar de si. Algo que eu enfrentei muito é o machismo, por ver uma mulher em espaços onde normalmente estão homens decidindo. Ao defender o direito de meninas, índias, à educação, a gente está defendendo a existência completa desse ser. Várias meninas faltam aula porque precisam ficar com os irmãos ou a irmã menor. De fato, melhorar o acesso de meninas à educação e à educação pública. 2/3 da população recifense mora em morro, em área de periferia. Existe pouca mobilidade na cidade. Para o acesso à educação, ou é a pé, ou é de bicicleta. Muita gente chega no Mirim de forma acanhada, né, tímida. Uma delas, ela começou a participar das atividades do Mirim aos 4 anos de idade. E com o passar do tempo, Gardênia se tornou, ela era a mais jovem do grupo, mas é a que mais fala. Ela concedeu entrevista para a rádio, ela tirou foto e apareceu na primeira página do Jornal da Assembleia Legislativa do Estado de Pernambuco.
Eu gosto muito da Silva porque ela é divertida, ela ensina. O meu sonho é ser médica.
É muito difícil a gente falar de um impacto, né, na comunidade, até mesmo porque a gente não consegue chegar a todas as pessoas. Mas a gente pode falar de pequenas mudanças, né? A gente poder mostrar que existe uma organização, um grupo de pessoas que se preocupa com a vida dessa família, dessas crianças, dos e das jovens. A primeira coisa é que a gente saiba que a gente não está só, que a gente procure soluções em conjunto. A gente quem tem que decidir o próprio destino. Que elas vivam, que elas vejam que o Brasil é o lugar delas, que elas sintam orgulho de ser quem são.
Welcome back to Fleet Fatales 2020. Thank you so much for being here. We are almost set up for our next run, so let's go ahead and just get a couple more donations in. I have $100 from Kenners. They say, yay Malala, yay Fleet Fatales, yay GDQ, yay speedruns. Yay indeed. Thank you so much. And I also have a $50 donation